slash producer of Unbounded Productions. As you know, or as I hope you know, since you guys are in my series fan server. Anyways, as for my credentials in writing, I've scripted around 4 episodes of my Unbounded series and many other stories which people seem to generally like, so I hope those analytics offer me some level of expertise. In fact, there's a special guest joining me here today, which I consider the only other member of the writing department, Ginger. She has helped me edit and revise my scripts for Unbounded episode 2 and 3 thus far.
I've been very honored to do so. Hello, my name's Ginger, also known as Gingerbread on my YouTube. I'm probably best known for my ginger edits on some popular gacha series like The Music Freaks, my most recent one on Royal Fairy Academy, and like two of Zoe's old series, but I'm sure it's not awkward between us because of that, right?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I make fun of my own videos now every now and then.
Yeah, so I've also done some gacha writing advice videos on gacha writing related issues. The first one in the series is called Gacha Writing is Executed Horribly, What's Wrong and How to Fix It. I've also been working on my own gacha fantasy series called Trinket Thieves for 2 years now. It's going great. 2 years is great, thanks. So yeah, those are my credentials. I'm still not a professional, but I've got some experience in helping people with their scripts, answering writing questions, and overall being very judgmental.
Well, your judgmentalness, whatever you would like to call that, is actually really helpful. Anyways, for this podcast, the two of us will be discussing and sharing our thoughts on a couple of topics related to writing. And our initial topics will include how to get ideas for a story, preparing to write, and how to create and write good characters.
Sounds interesting, doesn't it? And after all of that, we'll be having a question and answer session where we interact with your questions and give you our advice.
Yeah, so to start off, we can speak to the idea of how does one come up with an idea. And some people do already have their story figured out, and that's great for them, but many people struggle to come up with something you like, or an idea to add to the story that you do have. And in that case, there are some tips for you, which include inspiring yourself with consuming both new stories as well as rereading your old favorites. And even if it's not a genre you usually read or you're not one to always be on Netflix, make sure to get your frequent dose of fiction and writing so your brain can get some exercise and get the creativity going. Do not steal and do not write something incredibly similar just with changed names and call it inspired. But actually do try to take inspiration from it and collectively kind of create your own creative components off of the things that you consume. As most writers base their writing off of life experiences, you can also base it off of experience through reading and consuming stories.
Do not copy them directly, just take inspiration. Be respectful of other
Yep,
people's works,
do that.
people. Another thing you could do is take your real life situations, conversations, and observations and dramatize them. Even if your life is, you think it's mundane, I'm sure we all have our opinions and think of scenarios of what could be happening in some moments. Let your thoughts and imagination seep into what happens in your everyday life, like those random scenarios to think of when you're daydreaming in class or listening to TikTok audios. You could end up with ideas for conflicts, comedy, and scenes in your story this way.
Yeah, definitely. And this kind of goes with what Ginger just talked about, but being inspired by music, I think, is a huge way to get inspiration. Music is a great way to tell a story, and oftentimes your favorite artists do incorporate a message and a story within their work. And in fact, I do believe that a few parts of my characters' backstories have been inspired solely from music. And so if you have favorite songs, just try to dissect the lyrics and formulate your own like mini story off of it, your own takeaway.
Also really love using music. Like
Yes,
my ideas are from music. That's not
exactly.
feeling, it's
Yeah,
inspiration.
and I
It's
feel like
remixed.
definitely, and I feel like you can like really avoid plagiarism or like completely copying because music is so flexible in a sense. Like you can really twist those like words that are conveyed through music in your own way, and it provides more of a like originality to your stories rather than just copying straight off of another one.
It's very like
Mhm.
poetic and
Yeah.
lyrical, and the concepts are kind of vague. So like you can take a lot of it, but seeming like you copied that specific song. Like no one's
Yeah.
gonna say, "Oh,
No
you
one's
copied Taylor Swift's "Sing Along with Me" in your
Yeah.
story." Like no one's gonna say that.
Yeah, like
So
every love story is like that. It's just it provides some more insight on it. It's vague, like what Ginger said.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And another way is to find some interesting or some of your favorite tropes, concepts, genres, and ideas and mix them together. Combining unlikely elements together could create something interesting and original. You can also write with passion if you've seen a certain trope or idea written badly, and now you want to one up that work. Like, make it better. You're better.
Yeah,
Competition
competition.
definitely drives you.
Yeah.
If you also had like a dump document or notebook to collect ideas into, it would be really helpful.
There's like if you have something that you really want to write about or convey, like a message that you want to express, you can share it in the form of a story. So that can also provide like a way, like an idea. Like that could be an idea for your story. And even if it isn't that deep, just don't be afraid of making your story self-indulgent first. Just fix bad parts later and make sure you start. Having something you care about be in your plot or be a message in your story can help you think up more directions and connect to the story more. And this also adds on to the fact that you'll be passionate about making your story, which means that you'll dedicate more time and like it will like just be better. Like when you're passionate about something, it can really show. It really shows. So write
Yeah,
about something you care
I
about.
100% agree. I 100% agree. Passion is like my main message to people. Like, if you don't like what you're doing, this is not gonna work. So you really have to, you
Yeah.
have to love what you're writing.
Of jobs too, guys. Don't just go into a job because you think it pays well. Okay, that was really off topic, but
Okay,
yeah.
you have to like survive, financial stability. But like,
Yeah,
if you have the privilege, do try and do what you want to do.
definitely.
Topic number two, we have preparation. So, our next topic will explore the start of creating your story after you've gotten an idea. So, what do you do first? Here's some things to consider before you commit to writing the idea. A writing checklist, if you may.
First of all, you want to consider how long you want your story to be. And when you consider this, you want to think about why you are creating this story. Is it because you want to convey a message? If so, how easily is that message conveyed? If it is easily conveyed or a simple idea, a short story may be the way to go, since dragging something on excessively is not the best idea. If it is more of a complex story with multiple messages, elaborate characters, and ornate world building, it may be better to consider a series. The length of your story like ultimately decides how complex it will be, and it could also be the latter determining the former as well.
Exactly. And after figuring out the length, you should form a sort of outline for your story, a general timeline of how you want your story to play out. This does not need to be so complicated like the outlines your English teachers have so adamantly emphasized upon. It can merely be bullet points describing each character or episodes. You can decide how simple or detailed you want your outline to be because it's up to you. It's up to how much ideas you have before writing it. I am also well aware that people have different writing styles and sometimes just like to wing it, and that is totally fine. But for some structure, I recommend some form of outline as it helps retain consistency and it just helps you to avoid so much editing process later on.
Yeah, and if you are like me and you like to prepare well before writing a story, it would be of your best interest to create not just an outline, but also other documents delineating other aspects of your story. For example, I typically create character sheets that describe personalities and backgrounds slash likes and interests of my characters. I also like to create world building documents that include details on governance, economics, culture, and historical events slash figures. Obviously, this won't apply to every story because the story that I'm writing for Unbounded, the series, is very complex and it's a fantasy world. So it will definitely require extra work from my behalf and my
I
imagination.
agree. Fantasy
Yeah.
worlds, world building. Mm-mm.
It's so hard. Okay, it takes a lot of time, but if you're really into it, it'll be fun. And creating these extra documents, aside from just a simple outline, will establish a premise of consistency, which is really important, especially when you have really complex stories. Um, and since we are all human beings, which means that we forget things, you'll forget details about your own story sometimes. And of course, this will be reinforced if you have documents on many aspects of your plot.
Yeah, of course, whatever you're comfortable with, of course, just as long as you get it all down.
Yep.
And to me, most importantly, before you start writing, you should prepare to have some commitment and put aside some time for your writing. It will be really fun to discover your story more and more, but it's definitely not gonna be easy all of the time. Some of us have taken years and haven't even written the first chapter yet, like me. So accept the possibility of taking a while or not having the best result at first. Don't give up immediately when it isn't going your way, as dedication plays the biggest factor in whether you complete your project or not. Always remember that if you love what you're doing and or writing, you owe it to yourself to be patient and just keep trying.
Yeah, also to add on to what Ginger said, it is true you want to make sure to dedicate a lot of time. And personally, as you know, I've had two series in the past that I literally just stopped doing, partially because like my computer crashed and I lost all the files to it,
Oh man,
but
that
also
sucks.
because yeah, but also because I was not really passionate about the story. I was merely kind of just like writing the story because it was a trend at that time and I wanted views. I know I'm a bad person, but now the series that I'm working on, I like genuinely like it, and I like the characters a lot, like just the plot and everything combined with it, that like I would never see myself like just stopping it. You just want to make sure that you're sure of your idea and your outline before you fully commit to it, because it's definitely not the best when you just like stop in the middle of like your
Exactly.
story.
Kind of like disheartening when you keep
Yeah,
on like stopping projects and stuff.
yeah.
Like for me, 2 years just a lot, but like when everything keeps building on and you're like, wow, this is getting so complex and so interesting and so
Hmm.
fascinating. I really want this out. Like it's gonna be big. And even if like at first you'd want views, but then it becomes something you just really like and
Hmm.
have a connection to. And like as long as you just persevere and just put it out, you know that someone else is gonna connect to it too. That's why just do what you want, what you
Yeah,
like.
definitely. Um, so having your plot all figured out is definitely a great step, but you have to not forget that the heart of your story is your characters. And we've seen some pretty badly written main characters and casts in gotcha stories in the past. So the real question is, how do you make your characters good and memorable? And Ginger has some ideas here to share with you.
Okay, yes, I have many ideas. So, I personally wrote down three things that I could say are most important to have in a character. These include, but are not limited to, purpose and motivation. Well, those are kind of two things. But now that I look at the script, there are like five things that I wrote. But let's consider this one thing: purpose and motivation. Not only character roles, but what their overall main reason for being in the story is. It shouldn't just be, oh, main character's mother, because if she doesn't do anything except to talk to the main character at breakfast, it's not really productive, is it? We need integral reasons for them being there to justify their presence and or actions. Figuring this out makes the character feel like an actual part of the story and not some plot device or fluff, because if they feel useless, we'll feel like our time is wasted watching them on the screen or on the page, and our time as viewers are very important. So you have to make it
Mhm.
like spent efficiently.
Yeah, definitely. I can also relate to what Ginger said to, my first episode of Spirit Animals, where we just had like the main character talking to the mom, and she appears once, and that's like it. Again, that is an example of poor writing because the mom really serves no purpose. But to add on to that, you also want to make sure that everything that's part of your story has a life. They have a purpose, and your story is not just like a piece of paper. Moreover, it's more of like a world itself, and you want to make sure that you can convey that. And they're not just like kind of plot devices, right? They do have a purpose and motivation like what Ginger said.
Exactly. And another thing you need to consider is giving them internal conflict and fears. Again, two things, but we're going to count that as one thing. Everyone has things they aspire to achieve or do, right? A lot of the time, fear, or many things really, stops us from getting there or have us make some bad decisions. Characters and stories constantly have this pressure too. Internal conflict is an element that is always present in the most complex and fascinating characters. Internal conflict is defined as the character's physical, mental, or emotional struggle with their desires clashing with their fears. It plays a major role in their decisions and eventual growth. So, when paired with external conflict, outside events that pressure the characters, it creates a very engaging and relatable experience for the audience. For example, let's say this certain girl had been working towards a goal for all her life that she's really passionate about because it means something personal to her and her whole family. Then suddenly something goes wrong and she's no longer authorized to work on it. She gets offered a chance through illegal means, and through desperation she accepts. But soon she realizes these people that offered her this opportunity are actually doing other even worse illegal things. Now, her conflict is, does she give up her family's project forever to report these illegal things and save other people? What if these people do something bad to her in return? What has she gotten herself into? Boom, very engaging and can spin off into multiple directions. Having conflicts intertwined with the characters' wants and fears themselves will do wonders for the story. That was very long, but you
Mm.
get what I mean.
I really agree with what Ginger said. I don't really have much to add on because I'm pretty sure she covered most of it. But yeah, so your fears really affect your actions in life. I mean, if we take a look at like the average student's lives, they like study because they're afraid of failing a test, and it's just it really delineates what you do in your life. So I think that's really important, like what Ginger said.
Yes, very much so. And then the last thing that I thought of personally is your characters need to have a character arc. Characters need to change throughout the course of the story. It's only natural that after going through the course of your plot, that something in their beliefs or outlooks on life have shifted. It can be a positive character arc or a negative one, as long as you're able to showcase what the effects of the story and plot have had on them, that what they went through had significant meaning to them, and thus significant meaning to us. Flat character arcs aren't really encouraged, like those that don't really go through any change, because that suggests that the plot is your only focus, neglecting making the characters themselves memorable, which is like not ideal. Character arcs can be shown through story beats where the events that spark the thought of like, maybe I should change happen to the character very often. Like around the middle to the very end of the plot, these little moments should be happening, and as we go to the climax, these ideas of change should be more intense. Until something really big and urgent happens that really confronts them with the fact that they have to change or make a change to get what they want. Very compelling, right?
Yeah, and definitely like adding on to that, I do think that um each chapter or episode has to have a purpose. Like something has to have changed. Like it can't be just like a linear line. Just it has to go up or down. Whatever it is, something just has to change. If not, it serves no purpose. And that like if you want to be more extreme about it, you could say like every scene um of an episode or whatever, if we're speaking about episodes, should have a purpose. Like something should have changed within it, right? And that just serves for a more interesting and compelling story, as Ginger said. All right. And now, something that I would like to add on to like write how to write like good characters is focusing on their personality and behavior. And when we speak to an idea of consistency, you want to be able to accurately describe characters' actions and dialogue slash articulation, which means that you have to have a certain personality in your mind to describe that character. Now, you can't just dub them as like a bully who is sassy and mean, as this uses two words to describe their characteristics, and that will create a really flat character. In fact, I would encourage you to use four or more words to describe your character. Sure, there could be like 2 words that are the main part of your character's personality, but still I feel like just having 2 words and like that's it, that's all you write about your character, it just feels really flat, and like that'll be stuck in your mind while you're writing, and it will show through your writing. um like I said, people are complex creatures, so using 2 words to describe someone would ultimately lead to weak writing. And speaking to the idea of the people being naturally complex, it is definitely really hard to write about many different characters when you yourself only truly know how you would act in certain situations, much less a character who's pretty different from you. What I'm trying to say is that it's hard to put yourself in other people's shoes, and a lot of people cannot empathize with other people. So, one way of fixing this problem is assigning your characters an MBTI, which is a widely known way to identify a person's personality through a test. Um, it has a really in depth analysis of each personality type, so if you can assign one to your character, you can rely on Google to figure out what personality type would do in a certain situation. This will establish consistency in your writing and will help you describe your characters well without leaning towards biased and cliche style writing. I also have something else to add, which is the relationships with characters, like certain characters and their relationships with other characters. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is I feel like relationship dynamics are really important in a story, and it really helps create an interesting plot. So you have to think of like how like 2 different personalities will interact with each other, whether their dynamic is, a comedic one, a more intense one, they have like history going on. Um I feel like if you could just kind of prepare or think of some scenarios in your mind as to how those characters will react to each other, it will also help establish consistency, and it will like kind of give the viewers like a distinct idea of, oh, that's the chaotic duo, oh, that's like the wow, sexual tension history duo, or oh my gosh, that's like the group of people who are just like always having fun, loud and boisterous, but like they always bring a smile to my face, that type of thing. And that is ultimately described through character dynamics, so try to definitely put some of your time into making those dynamics.
And I have a thing to add to that, which is character dynamics. Like characters, will also go through a character arc. Actually, I'm not sure if many people know this. People spending time together would not always act like they were in the beginning, especially after like going through something life threatening. Maybe their dynamics in the end would change. If they were comedic at first, they might have some bittersweetness to them at the end. So just making sure that you have some sort of change them at the end as well can make it more realistic and just make the story feel like it happened. Like it's so sad. Why are these people sad now? I thought they were funny. Now it's so sad. I want to cry. Something like that.
Yeah. What Ginger says is really important, and actually, I feel like a really good thing to keep in mind when you write anything, practically, like just a big general writing tip, is the fact that fictional writing is basically, basically kind of based off of life, like real life. It's based off of real life. It doesn't matter if like it's some sort of fantasy story. There are tons and tons and tons of elements that are inspired from real life. And we can see this when Ginger's talking about the changes that characters go through, and including their relationships. Think about yourself. Think about like how you and your friends' relationships changes, how you change yourself, right? It is all reflected, like things like that are reflected in your writing. And when you write, it's kind of just like your life experience. So sometimes good writers tend to be more mature and older ones, as they have gone through a lot, and they can reflect upon a lot of the things that has happened in their lives through their writing, which I think realistic writing or good writing is realistic. It has a lot of realistic points in it. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Good writing at the heart of it has like real life as
Mhm.
its inspiration. It
Basis, yeah.
has realistic and morals, messages
Hmm.
that everyone can relate to, and that's what makes it very good story to it's like it could be like a very technically
Mm-hmm.
badly written story, but if at the heart of it is a message that you care about, like it's gonna be your favorite. It's not gonna matter if it's really like badly written. If it says something that speaks to you, then it has a right to be your favorite story. So
Mm-hmm.